Couple of days, you might have seen headlines asking if Mount St. Helens is about to blow.
Well, Mount St. Helens has been a little more active than you may expect this year since February 1st.
Mount St. Helens is not just waking up, it's warning us of danger like its deadly explosion 44 years ago. More than 350 small quakes have been shaking the volcano, and magma is rising, pushing the ground and sending out dangerous gases. These signs are just like those before the huge 1980 eruption, a disaster that wiped out everything in a 230 square mile area. Tune in as the mountain's quiet breaks, and the Earth gets ready to explode. Mount St. Helens signals its power. 44 years ago, Mount St. Helens didn't just erupt, it unleashed chaos on a scale most of us can't imagine. May 18, 1980, was the day the Pacific Northwest learned what real destruction looked like. The eruption was so powerful it wiped out everything in a 230 square mile radius. Forests were flattened like matchsticks, rivers clogged with debris, and ash blanketed towns, turning daylight into a dystopian gloom. And now, signs are pointing to the possibility of a repeat performance. But this time, the signs are even more ominous. Fast forward to today, and Mount St. Helens is back to its old tricks. Small, shallow earthquakes are once again rattling the area. These aren't your everyday tremors. They're the kind that happen when magma is on the move, fracturing rock as it pushes upward. Add to that ground deformations, slight tilts, and uplifts that indicate something's brewing beneath the surface. Scientists are watching these shifts like hawks, using everything from GPS to radar to track even the tiniest movements. And if that wasn't enough, there's the increasing gas emissions. Elevated levels of carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide are spewing from the crater, a clear sign that magma is creeping closer to the surface. These warning signs don't necessarily mean an eruption is imminent, but they're not exactly comforting either. Think of it like a pressure cooker. The steam vents and slight bulges are warning signs that things are heating up inside, and Mount St. Helens is known for being unpredictable. Sure, some volcanoes can sit in this recharge phase for decades without blowing their tops, but history tells us this mountain isn't one to ignore. The recharging phase is like loading a cannon. Magma slowly rises, collecting in a chamber beneath the surface, building pressure as it goes. This process can take years, even decades, but when it reaches a tipping point, the results can be catastrophic. For Mount St. Helens, this isn't just a theory, it's a pattern. The 1980 eruption was preceded by weeks of activity eerily similar to what we're seeing now. So what happens if it erupts again? Let's be real, the consequences would be massive. A full-blown eruption could launch ash high into the atmosphere, disrupting air travel across the continent. Pyroclastic flows, those deadly avalanches of hot gas and rock, could obliterate everything in their path. Volcanic mudflows, or lahars, could sweep through river valleys, destroying homes, roads, and bridges. And the ash? It's not just a local problem. It can travel hundreds of miles, choking crops, clogging machinery, and turning life upside down for anyone caught in its path. If Mount St. Helens erupts again, we can expect a similar cycle of destruction and renewal. The forests that have taken decades to regrow would be flattened, rivers clogged, and wildlife displaced. But nature, as it's proven time and again, has a remarkable ability to heal. That doesn't mean we should downplay the risks. Communities near the mountain are far more developed than they were in the 80s, and the potential for human and economic loss is significantly higher. The key takeaway here: we need to stay vigilant. Scientists are doing everything they can to monitor the situation, but predicting the exact timing and scale of an eruption is still an imperfect science. What we do know is that Mount St. Helens is awake and active, and it's only a matter of time before it reminds us of its power once again. While we can't stop an eruption, we can prepare for it. Emergency response plans, early warning systems, and public awareness campaigns are critical for minimizing the impact of any future event. And as we've seen from the past, recovery is possible. The story of Mount St. Helens isn't just one of destruction, it's also a testament to resilience, of nature and humanity alike. Whether it erupts tomorrow or 20 years from now, one thing's for sure: this mountain isn't done making history. Let's take a deeper dive into the aftermath of the 1980 eruption, which left an indelible mark on science and the environment. The sheer force of the eruption carved out a massive crater, completely altering the mountain's profile. It wasn't just the landscape that changed. The event also reshaped our understanding of volcanic behavior. Scientists pored over the data, uncovering clues about how magma chambers fill, how pressure builds, and what signs to look for before an eruption. The lessons learned from Mount St. Helens have since been applied to monitoring other volcanoes around the world, saving lives and improving our ability to predict volcanic activity. The environmental impact was nothing short of catastrophic. Rivers turned gray with ash, choking aquatic life and clogging waterways. Forests that had stood for centuries were reduced to skeletal remains, and wildlife fled or perished. Yet, in the wake of such devastation, the region became a living laboratory for studying ecological recovery. Researchers have documented how life returned to the blast zone, offering invaluable insights into how ecosystems rebuild themselves. This knowledge has been instrumental in conservation efforts and in understanding how natural disasters shape the environment over time. From ash and ruin, life started to grow again. The land began its slow recovery. Destruction birthed renewal. One of the most remarkable aspects of Mount St. Helens' recovery has been the role of what scientists call pioneer species. These are plants and animals that are the first to colonize a devastated area. Lupines, for example, were among the first plants to take root in the nutrient-poor ash. Their ability to fix nitrogen in the soil created conditions that allowed other plants to grow. Pocket gophers, often overlooked, became ecological heroes. By burrowing through the ash, they mixed nutrient-rich soil with volcanic debris, creating microhabitats for other organisms. As the years passed, larger plants like alder trees began to take hold, stabilizing the soil and providing shelter for wildlife. Birds returned, bringing seeds that sprouted into a new generation of vegetation. Rivers, once choked with ash and debris, gradually cleared, allowing fish populations to recover. The transformation from barren wasteland to thriving ecosystem has been nothing short of extraordinary, a testament to the resilience of nature. Looking ahead, the lessons from Mount St. Helens are more relevant than ever. As climate change accelerates, natural disasters are becoming more frequent and severe. Understanding how ecosystems recover from events like volcanic eruptions can inform our response to other environmental crises, from wildfires to hurricanes. It also underscores the importance of biodiversity in maintaining resilient ecosystems. The recovery of Mount St. Helens has shown that life finds a way, but it often needs a little help. Conservation efforts, reforestation projects, and habitat restoration are all part of the equation. The volcano also serves as a stark reminder of the power of nature. The mountain's quiet periods can lull us into a false sense of security, but its history tells a different story. It's not a question of if it will erupt again, but when. By studying its patterns and preparing for the worst, we can mitigate the impact of future eruptions. The mountain's story is far from over, and it's up to us to ensure that when the next chapter unfolds, we're ready for it. As we wrap up this exploration of the volcano, it's worth reflecting on the broader implications of its story. Volcanoes like Mount St. Helens are more than just geological features. They are powerful reminders of the dynamic forces that shape our planet. They challenge us to think about the balance between destruction and renewal, about the resilience of life, and about our place in the natural world. Mount St. Helens is a symbol of both the fragility and the strength of the Earth. It's a story of devastation, recovery, and the enduring power of nature to adapt and thrive. And as we look to the future, it's a story that continues to unfold, one seismic tremor at a time. The collaboration between scientists, emergency planners, and local communities is another key aspect of Mount St. Helens' story. Public outreach programs educate residents about the risks and signs of volcanic activity, ensuring that people know what to do if the worst happens. This kind of preparation has already saved lives in other volcanic regions, and it continues to be a critical part of the response strategy for Mount St. Helens. Beyond the immediate risks, Mount St. Helens serves as a microcosm for understanding how our planet evolves. Volcanic eruptions, despite their destructive nature, play a crucial role in shaping Earth's surface. The rich soils created by volcanic ash are a boon for agriculture, supporting communities long after the initial devastation. The minerals released during eruptions contribute to the planet's nutrient cycles, sustaining life in ways we're only beginning to understand. Mount St. Helens, with its dramatic history and ongoing activity, is a living testament to these processes. The volcano isn't just some random mountain, it's a place of legends, both ancient and modern. Indigenous tribes like the Cowlitz and Klickitat called it Lawet-Latla and Lowit, names steeped in myths that sound eerily prophetic today. One story tells of a maiden caught between two rival gods whose jealousy led to chaos and destruction. Sound familiar? It's almost like the mountain itself embodies that tension, constantly brewing something just beneath the surface. Amid the chaos, a man named Harry Truman became a tragic icon. He owned a lodge near Spirit Lake and refused to evacuate, famously declaring he'd stay put, come hell or high water. Well, he got both. His stubbornness turned him into a folk hero, but it also made him a cautionary tale. Nature doesn't negotiate, and Mount St. Helens made that crystal clear. Now here we are again. The ground is shaking, gas is seeping out, and scientists are seeing unsettling changes in the landscape. It's like the mountain is clearing its throat, and if history taught us anything, it's that we'd better listen. The thing about volcanoes is they don't operate on our timelines. They're unpredictable, moody, and completely indifferent to human plans. Mount St. Helens could erupt tomorrow, next year, or in another decade. But make no mistake, it will erupt. Here's what makes this all the more nerve-wracking. Mount St. Helens has a habit of being both destructive and deceptive. Back in 1980, some folks thought the activity was just a minor eruption phase. Then the north side of the mountain blew out in a colossal landslide, unleashing a lateral blast that caught everyone off guard. It was a stark reminder that this volcano plays by its own rules. But let's not get too sentimental here. The science is what matters right now, and the data isn't comforting. Seismologists are picking up more frequent and intense earthquakes around the volcano. Gas emissions are spiking, signaling that magma is on the move. The ground itself is deforming, bulging in places where it shouldn't. These are classic warning signs, the volcano's way of saying, get ready. The signs are clear. Trouble is brewing. Will we be ready when the mountain moves? A volcano on high alert. The Geological Survey has teams monitoring the mountain around the clock. They're using high-tech gadgets to measure everything from gas levels to ground deformation, trying to predict when and how the next eruption might happen. But here's the kicker. Even with all this technology, volcanoes remain maddeningly unpredictable. Scientists can't say exactly when Mount St. Helens will blow, only that the odds are increasing. This uncertainty leaves locals in a tough spot. Do they pack up and leave, or do they gamble that the mountain will stay quiet a little longer? For those who remember 1980, the choice is clear, better safe than sorry. But memories fade, and newcomers to the area might not fully grasp the risks. It's a dangerous mix of complacency and ignorance, the kind of thing that could lead to another tragedy. The volcano looms over the Pacific Northwest like a moody giant, unpredictable and unstoppable. It's not just a natural wonder, it's a stark reminder of the power and unpredictability of our planet. The question isn't if it will erupt again, it's when. And when it does, the world will once again witness the terrifying beauty of one of nature's most explosive spectacles. For now, all we can do is watch, wait, and prepare. Mount St. Helens isn't just a part of the landscape, it's a force of nature that demands respect. Let's hope we've learned enough from the past to face whatever the future holds. The volcano has always had a personality, and it's not the kind you want to mess with. Think of it as a temperamental artist, prone to fits of brilliance and destruction. For centuries, it's captured the imagination of people who lived nearby, inspiring both awe and fear. Indigenous stories painted it as a sacred but dangerous force, a place where human lives and nature's fury collided. And they weren't wrong. Everything about this mountain screams unpredictability. Its towering presence dominates the Cascade Range, a volcanic hotspot stretching across the Pacific Northwest. Unlike its quiet cousins, Mount Rainier and Mount Hood, this volcano doesn't do subtlety. Its eruptions are the kind that make headlines, the kind you read about in history books. When it decides to act up, the whole world takes notice. Back in 1980, the eruption's devastation was unprecedented. The lateral blast was so powerful that it leveled an area of 150 square miles in minutes. Trees were snapped like toothpicks, rivers were clogged with mud and debris, and the once pristine Spirit Lake became unrecognizable. The eruption even altered the mountain's iconic silhouette, reducing its majestic peak to a gaping crater. It wasn't just a geological event, it was a wake-up call for humanity. Scientists have spent decades studying the aftermath, and the lessons are as fascinating as they are sobering. One of the most remarkable discoveries was how quickly life began to return. Within weeks, plants started sprouting through the ash. By the next spring, wildflowers were blooming, their seeds carried by wind and animals. Tiny creatures like insects and amphibians returned, gradually rebuilding the food web. Larger animals followed, from birds to deer, each step a testament to nature's resilience. Volcano monitoring has come a long way since 1980, but even the best technology has its limits. Scientists can track magma movements, measure gas emissions, and detect subtle changes in the Earth's crust, but they can't pinpoint the exact moment when an eruption will occur. It's like watching a suspenseful movie where you know something big is going to happen, but you don't know when. This uncertainty creates a unique challenge for communities near the mountain. Evacuations are costly and disruptive, but ignoring the warnings could be deadly. It's a delicate balance, one that requires constant vigilance and preparedness. Schools, businesses, and local governments have emergency plans in place, but whether people will follow them is another question entirely. History has shown that human complacency can be just as dangerous as the volcano itself. Meanwhile, the volcano continues to loom large, both literally and metaphorically. Its presence is a constant reminder of the forces that shape our planet. It's a teacher, showing us how ecosystems recover and how communities adapt. But it's also a warning, a volatile force that demands respect and caution. As scientists keep a close eye on the mountain, they're also looking to the past for clues about its future. Geological records show that Mount St. Helens has erupted dozens of times over the last few thousand years, each event varying in size and impact. Some eruptions were small, others catastrophic. The 1980 eruption was far from the first, and it won't be the last. Understanding this history is crucial for predicting what might come next. The Pacific Northwest is a densely populated region, home to millions of people and critical infrastructure. An eruption could disrupt air travel, damage power grids, and contaminate water supplies. The economic and social impacts would be enormous, rippling far beyond the immediate area. And let's not forget the environmental toll. Volcanic eruptions release massive amounts of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases, contributing to climate change in ways we're only beginning to understand. Yet amidst all this uncertainty, there's also a sense of wonder. Mount St. Helens is a living, breathing example of Earth's dynamic nature. It's a place where destruction and creation coexist, where life finds a way against all odds. It's a reminder that our planet is both fragile and resilient, capable of unimaginable devastation and incredible beauty. And while the world waits for the mountain's next move, scientists, educators, and even artists continue to delve into its story. Researchers are cataloging every shift in the landscape, analyzing each gas plume, and monitoring seismic activity with tools that didn't exist decades ago. Educators are using the mountain's history to teach about resilience and adaptation, sharing its lessons with new generations who may one day face similar natural threats. Artists, too, are finding inspiration in the juxtaposition of destruction and renewal, capturing the mountain's stark beauty in paintings, photographs, and films. As Mount St. Helens awakens, we must ask, will we heed the warnings this time or repeat the mistakes of the past? Share your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.